Good morning, Bitcoiners. I hope you're doing well. I'm loving my life. Who could complain on a day like today? It's not going to be me. I'm not going to be the one complaining. Things are going great. Making sure my hat is a little straighter. My whole life, I've always put my hat on crooked. Nobody knows why. Every picture of me as a kid, I've got my hat somewhat sideways. We just can't seem to figure it out. Chef Zero, for we must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ, and that everyone may receive the things done in his body according to that he hath done, whether it be good or bad. Corinthians, indeed, judgment for all of us. French Fry with a thumbs up. Hello, French Fry. Blessings, fellow Bampians. Good morning, crew. Good morning, Chef, says Jesus is King 04. Thank God it is Friday, Lance 2002, reminding us all it is indeed Friday today. Blessings appreciated. I ask for blessings every day for all the people who are trying to take this world in the right direction. That's the way to do it. BBC Plebinator. G is a Chad. Trump is a cuck. Okay, maybe. Lance 2002. Troll alerts. Well, you're allowed to criticize Trump. I'm okay with that. I don't have to defend Trump. I disagree, but I don't have to defend him. Trump's doing fine on his own. Good morning, gang. Just so you know, NOLAN NPCs still don't use our soap. That makes sense. Yeah, we're going to be talking about the NPCs today. Already, shields up, indeed. Good morning, gang. Phew, I thought I was late, says CB Van. You know what really grinds my gears? People calling right before the start of the Great Awakening. We don't want to talk to them. Say, don't call. Uncalled for. It's just disrespectful, says CB Van. Good morning, gang. What's good? Lee J369. We're going to be talking about what's good today. And don't forget, everyone, at, what is it? 1 p.m. What time do I do the Canada show? 1 p.m. Eastern time today. We have Tom Luongo joining us. Tom Luongo at 1 p.m. Eastern time. Going to be with us from The Breakup, Canada. We're going to be talking about Canada. I know Lee J369 loves to make it to our Canada show. We're going to have a good time today. We're going to listen to Tom Luongo, and we're going to get his download on what's going on with Canada. And we're going to share some of our Bitcoin vision of the future of North America with him and see if he sees clearly like we do. Sivan, I'll see your Corinthians and raise you a Proverbs 26:12. Do you see a man who is wise in his own eyes? There is more hope for a fool than for him. Very good. Relax, have a coffee, and enjoy the show. Now from the bastion of clean and orderly, crispy consistency of Canada, Count BTC, showtime. The hell just happened? The hell was that? What happened? It wasn't an internet problem. I don't know. Did I just bounce off the screen for a second? No idea what that just was. Maybe my internet collapsed for a moment. Anyway. Where was I? Yeah, I will. It's a holiday weekend this weekend. So it's one of the rare instances like Thanksgiving, another one where Canadian holidays don't sync up exactly with US holidays. So our Canadian Memorial Day, if you will, is this weekend. And we don't call it Memorial Day in Canada. It has two names. There are two names for this holiday weekend in Canada. In English Canada, where all of the extra NPCs live, that's called Victoria Day. Here in Quebec, we call it Journée des Patriotes, the Patriots Day, Patriots Day. And it's for patriots are the we all know what a patriot means, but there's a specific instance of patriots in Quebec, and it happened not long after the Revolutionary War. The Quebecers tried to fight against the British hegemony here in Quebec, and because they had most of the garrisons stationed here. That's why Quebec still has a unilateral right to enter the United States, because when the Revolutionary War happened, it had just come after the French Indian War. And the French Indian War, there's going to be a great movie about it this summer, by the way, starring George Washington. He'll be the protagonist in the movie. And so George Washington, who launched the French Indian War by shooting on the Frenchmen in Ohio when he was out doing some land surveying. So that sparked the whole 7 Years' War, they call it, in England and Europe. The Proto World War One, some people call it. Sorry, the Proto World War, so World War 0.1. And so it ended in Quebec City. And because they needed to subdue the French people for, that war ended in the early 1760s. So we're only, 15 years before the American Revolutionary War. So they had garrisoned all kinds of British soldiers here in Quebec. And for that reason, they were unable to join any kind of revolution. And so that's why Quebec was given this unilateral right. They did try to fight back against the British in the 1830s, and that's where the Patriots come from. They're all hanged from a tree. It didn't work out for them. That was the one instance of kind of Irish treatment of the Quebecers. So they quelled the rebellion by killing them. And so we still have a holiday to recognize them in Quebec. It's called Journée des Patriotes. And we do not celebrate that whore Queen Victoria's birthday here in Quebec. We don't want to hear anything about kings and queens. We're officially like deroyalized in Quebec as well, right? We're not the same. So we're out of the game. We're out of the game. We got nothing royal here left. And they still have their house. The royals have an official residence up in a star fort in Quebec City. And it's federal. So hopefully with some referendums, we can take control of it. I've partied in there. It's a lot of fun. I took over that thing with Red Bull years ago. Red Bull does this big competition in Quebec City where they, I don't know, skate down the hill or something crazy, like kamikaze derby, like crash up derby, but on skates. And they put hills and jumps and everything. It's pretty fun. And it was it launched for the first time ever when I was a law student. And it was a wild weekend for me. It was crazy. It would have been, I guess, Carnival weekend 2006 maybe. And I was a freshman in law school. And this thing, it's called Crashed Ice. It just started. It was the first year ever. And one of my good friends was like the Red Bull rep, and which meant he just always had free Red Bull, and he would just go to parties with a case of Red Bull to give out. It's like one of these weird jobs they give to cool kids. And so he was a cool kid, friend of mine. And not only did they give us access to the party was great. The invitations were on sliced pieces of thin tree trunk, and then they burned the invitation into the cross section of the tree. You got tree rings. I could tell you what the temperature was in the 1980s when they cut the tree. And so they cut it and they emblazoned these things on it, and it was just a crazy wild party, and all in this star fort. So you could go out into the trails and the little tunnels and all kinds of stuff. It was really cool. And they also gave us a whole suite in the Chateau Frontenac for the whole weekend. So I had an apartment, but I just got to stay in the hotel, and I had like no money at all. So it all just sort of happened. I hadn't got my scholarship yet. The way the scholarships worked, they hadn't released the money to me yet. So it was like one of the poorest times I've ever, had in my life. And because I had been planning on the scholarship money, it hadn't come yet. It was sort of the last instance of being like a student and not having money. I agreed to go to law school because I got the scholarship, and it was sort of frozen still. I hadn't been able to unlock it. It was unlocked not long after, but so my friend just showed up one weekend and he was like, hey, and I was like, wow, this is a lot of fun. And so I got to have this really great weekend. Fui Red Bull, exactly. Remember when that kicked off? Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Crashed Ice, awesome. Yeah. So I was there for the first year and the second year. I haven't gone back. I've only been to Quebec City twice since I graduated from law school there in 2008. I went once for a bachelor party in like 2013 or 2014, and then I went back 2 years ago, 2023, I guess. That same friend owns a hotel now in Quebec City. He owns a few hotels here and there, a bunch in Banff and one in Quebec City. And so he was just about to renovate it 2 years ago, or 3 years ago when we're on US Thanksgiving weekend. So that's when his birthday is. And so we had a big part. All friends got all the rooms in the hotel and kids, and he was demolishing a part of the interior to rebuild the kitchen and dining room in the hotel. So we got to actually smash all that stuff. There was like a room with a sledgehammer and you can just smash stuff and demo it. And so, yeah, it was a great party. Great party, kids everywhere. And so that would have been the last time. So those are the only 2 times I've been to Quebec City since I graduated from school. Pardon me. No, that's not true. I went back in autumn of the first year I wasn't a student, or the second year I wasn't a student. Autumn of 2009, I went back for whatever you call it, like Frosh Week, or the week where everyone goes to party. And I still knew kids and students and stuff like that. So I went and partied there for a couple of days. But that's it. Would like to go back. Okay, hold on. Here we go. I think the powers that monitor or threading counts entire NPC monologue through this AI screening system so they know sly spies everywhere. Indeed. All right. So we got a sunrise, everyone. That happened. It's there. Gray again, but that's a real sunrise. It happened. Bitcoin running currently at 81,000 US trash tokens. I didn't know it pumped. We're doing great. Let's have a coffee and talk about what's new. Oh, yeah, I did disappear, Chef Zero. Yeah, okay, it did happen. I was wondering. Fui webo bewity matrix. Fui wedbo. Yeah, I used to get fui wedbo. Fui wedbo. He even got the fridge in his house and the wedbo fridge. And so when I used to come over, we'd get it. It was always there. Always had free Red Bull. Never paid for Red Bull all those years. It was fun. All right. So speaking of fun things in the city, Montreal Canadiens indeed won the sports ball last night. We're going to be talking about sports ballers and sports ball a little bit today. We're going to be going over and a return to the hit book I wrote a few years ago, the Bitcoiner's Guide to NPC Management, because it has a lot of clues on how to read the news today, and we're going to do that. But first, let's just see how the NPCs are doing in general. It's not going great. They're having some real trouble, guys. It is really shit out there for the NPCs. None of this is ever in the right order. I just don't understand. There we go, guys. The experts weighed in. Okay, Montreal won again last night. Hockey City, they're saying. Experts say Canadiens fever fueled by teams winning history. Guys, you wouldn't believe why the experts say the Montreal Canadiens are Hockey City. Do you know why? It's because they've won the Stanley Cup 24 times, almost as much as the New York Yankees have won the World Series in baseball. And I never knew that was why it's Hockey City. I didn't understand that the history of Montreal winning all the time and having dynasty after dynasty, and I had no idea that's what made Montreal Canadiens so popular in Montreal. I thought if you lost all the time and nobody cared and you just started your franchise like last week, then you could be Hockey City. But no, it's not that. You actually had to have been around for a long time and winning. So thank God the experts have broken down the mystery for us about why Montreal is Hockey City. Guys, it has to do with them winning all the time for years. I would have never, ever guessed. It's so surprising to me that that's the reason why Montreal is considered Hockey City. I thought it was because it was cold and we have some ice and some snow, but it turns out you can also play hockey in Florida, so that makes no sense. So what was it exactly? Like, now we know. It was really keeping me up at night. I just didn't understand, right? It just didn't make sure. I just couldn't understand. Experts attribute the enthusiasm to the team's 117-year history, guys. Can you believe we're like, I told you it'd be a time of awakening and revelations in 2026, but I was not prepared for this. I was not prepared for the experts to actually tie in the history of winning and then it's the oldest team and then it's intertwined with Quebec history. I didn't understand that that's what made it synonymous with hockey. Now I know. And thank God, because a social sciences professor, he's the one who's figured this out for us. It's a hockey city, guys. It's a hockey city. The more you know, the more you know. Thank God CTV News is on this beat and the Canadian press is there to share this information. It's incredible, right? We get this also from Canada, so we'll talk about this on the show. This is a liberal who lost his nomination to a bunch of Hindus that did a bunch of voting with bills and voting with receipts, and they didn't have any ID. And he's very shocked about all this. And so he's actually going to be challenging losing his job to some kind of voter fraud. Now, he is a liberal, and so it's not really, the CBC is not really like, you can complain about losing to voter fraud, but honestly, why the liberal nomination controversy could be it's not really helpful. It's kind of an unhelpful distraction. We're trying to rebuild here, okay? And we need the guys with the turbans on their head if we're going to rebuild. And if they want to vote with no ID, it can't really. We're trying to rebuild. This is unhelpful. Don't complain about a vote being scammed when we're trying to rebuild the voting system. Come on, we need votes. Who cares how they come, right? Experts say Ontario Liberals must address allegations transparently to secure trust. They have to address the allegations because they need trust in the system, guys. It's not helpful. We're rebuilding. Don't talk about the people voting without ID. No, that's a Trump thing. We don't like it. You don't like it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Right? Voter IDs, right? It's not good, right? Party establishment. He tried really hard, the guy, right? He tried really hard. Entrepreneur won the nomination by 19 votes. Right? And he's alleged the party establishment actively worked against him, right? And now we have this battle. Unreal. It's not helpful. It's like MAGA stuff. Don't do it, right? We get this. We got some climate change news. What's going on in climate change news? How climate change already impacts our daily lives. We often dismiss climate change as an almost abstract problem, right? But we got problems. Food security, right? We got problems with lower crop yields. We got higher supermarket prices, guys. Inevitably, rising food costs have a major impact on vulnerable households, but we're all affected, according to a joint report published by the European Central Bank and the Potsdam Institute for Climate Impact Research. Continued global warming is projected to increase food prices guys, are you ready for this? Food might go up by 0.6% by 2060 because of global warming. 0.6% by 2060. Guys, if we don't get these temperatures down, if you don't keep recycling, if you don't keep figuring this out, you're not going to believe steak. It might go up by, you're paying $10 for a steak right now. You're paying $20 for a steak right now. By 2060, if these central bankers are right, if these experts are right, you're going to be paying like $24 by 2060 for your steak. Worst case scenario. Are you prepared for that? I know what you're saying. My steak has doubled since the pandemic and since 2020. That was transitory. That's another problem. Okay. That's another time from now. That was the old inflation. Okay, this is new inflation from global warming, not from COVID. All right, COVID also caused inflation. It's a new round. Are you prepared to handle 0.6% inflation increase in food prices by 2060. Who's prepared for that? You better stack that Bitcoin right now, guys. You're not going to be able to handle that shock. Your grandkids by 2060, your great grandkids, they're going to be paying like $3 or $4 more a steak if this keeps up. If you don't keep these temperatures down, we're not going to be able to make it. We're not going to survive this. This is catastrophic inflation. Weimar Republic, here we come. Look at these central bankers. They know the deal. 2060. I'm not prepared. Michael Saylor's not even prepared for this. This is too much. It's too much. Barely 45 at a steak dinner and I'm going to need everyone to recycle really hard today. It's 0.6% by 2060. We're not going to make it. We're not going to make it. This is bad news, everyone. How do you can make a difference when it comes to change and just about everything else? We do a lot of sneering at virtue signaling. It's time to rethink our approach, right? So don't sneer at virtue signalers. They're great, right? They're great. You can just go and do it, right? Just go tell people how great you are, how much you recycle, right? Can individuals make a difference? What can you do? Well, the first thing you can do is wear a sticker for voting, right? So if you were one of those people who voted with your bill or with a receipt the other day in Ontario, right? They get your sticker for that and put it on, right? The sticker signals that you take pride in civic life. It tells people you're the kind of person who votes. It might make others want to vote too, guys. Social consequences, right? So you need that, right? Consider how we pick up and drop habits. Smoking, economist Robert Frank argues, is a meme. The strongest predictor of whether someone will start smoking is whether their friends and family do, right? So there you go. Behavioral contagion, right? The same lessons apply to voting, climate action, and much else, right? That's what you got to do. You got to get followers. You need followers. You got to get people to follow you, right? Virtue signaling can be virtuous, right? Sharing your choices. We aren't just role models for our friends, roommates, and neighbors either. All of us have lots of unexpected places to spread social influence, guys. Wear a sticker, okay? That's how you can help. Wear a sticker that says you vote. That's what can stop global warming, guys. You don't want it. Recycling, that's okay. Wearing a voting sticker is great. All right, now I got two straight stories here with beavers, okay? I got two straight stories here with beavers. The first one is this, right? This is great news, everybody. Beavers are coincidentally solving climate change, everyone. New research shows beaver dams and wetlands in Switzerland are creating carbon sinks that trap up to 146 tons of greenhouse gases annually. So beavers are the answer, right? Beavers are the answer. But we've also unfortunately got this story that says that beavers, right? Climate change is bringing out the beavers earlier, right? Climate change means earlier beavers. Could mean more headaches for humans, but we just heard that it's actually solving the problem. Global warming is letting beavers emerge from winter's ice earlier, and that could mean more headaches for humans. But I also heard it was really good for climate change mitigation. So we'll find out. Let's let the beavers fight. The ones who wake up early and the ones who are making the good dams, saving us from global warming. Let's find out who wins. There you go. We got the beavers. Leave it to the beavers. Oh, we got some super El Nino stories. Super El Nino is forming in. Look at it. Look at the colors. Looks like a shark's tooth. Right? Super El Nino. Godzilla. Super El Nino is forming in the Pacific Ocean that will have devastating global consequences. It's going to maybe make the inflation of your steak go up 0.4%. Maybe even more. What could a supercharged El Nino mean for Canada? A rapidly warming planet due to human-caused climate change is set to amplify what forecasters say could be a supercharged Godzilla El Nino, spelling possible hot and dry conditions to come for most parts of Canada. You're screwed, guys. You're screwed. And we get this too. how heat wave workers, now this is a brand new problem to India, right? India and its salt pans, right? Extreme heat amid climate change in India. How can they survive? Right? We got to find out. We got to find out how they're going to survive. Every year, temperatures across India rise to dangerous levels during the summer season. Every year? What? I thought this was all brand new. But few places are as unforgiving as the massive salt pans of Gujarat, where thousands of laborers work under relentless sunlight surrounded by endless white salt fields. There are no trees for shade. So what do? We heard that trees and drinking water. Remember last year we learned about trees and shade when they were all telling us what to do in a heat wave. Get some shade, they said, go inside. Right. So those things work, but I guess not in Gujarat, right? What do they get to do? But so it's really hot. They got all kinds of troubles, right? Why heat wave workers face serious, why do heat wave workers face serious, because it's hot, right? Heat exhaustion, stroke. So we know about all that. How climate change in India is intensifying heat waves, not good. How workers survive without trees or fans. One of the most striking aspects of the India salt pans extreme heat crisis is the lack of even basic cooling resources, high soil salinity. So they got troubles. Working during cooling hours, they can do that. Wearing protective clothing, evaporative cooling, right? Resting inside temporary shelters. Okay. So they got some plans here. Conserving water carefully, guys. So if you're in a salt salt pan, and you have only so much water, you should conserve it, okay? Why outdoor laborers are becoming more vulnerable. I'm trying to put this all together. I'm trying to follow. It's hot. Can't go inside and get her. Why would this cause a problem? Thank God they're here to let us know what the connection is between no shelter and heat and why people are vulnerable. Thank God they made that connection. It's reminds me of the one we heard about earlier with the Montreal Canadiens and their age and how long they've been around. And, they're really doing great work putting this together. Experts just on a roll here. Mental health impacts are becoming another concern. Yeah, not good, right? Why India's heat crisis matters globally. Right? You're all going to be like this soon. Okay. So learn from these guys are just ahead of you, right? They're just a little bit ahead of you, and that's coming everywhere. So there you got all these questions. So India, guys, really hot in India. I just would have never seen this coming. It's brand new, right? Unbelievable. But thank God we got some winners. China braced for heavy rains as UN hails its role as global climate leader. Flood warnings issued to center and east, and more than a month's average rain forecast over 4 days in south. There you go. A leader, guys. A leader. They're a leader. And finally, I have my last story about China. The meeting with Trump is over, and experts are here to help us figure out what happened. And here's what we got. Experts say cooperation, guys, is key to constructive and stable China-US relations. Can you believe it? I thought if they just like teased each other and rug pulled each other and screwed each other over as a joke, right, it would be good in the long run because they'd have like more chemistry. But no, cooperation is key. So thank God. I mean, I don't know what we would do, guys. We would be blind. Think about what life would be like without these experts. We would be blind. I would have never been able to figure this out. I don't know what I thought. I had no idea how this stuff could have worked. But luckily, the experts are here to help us. Luckily, they're here to help us. And we've got some clues now. Finally got some clues. Oh, I have one more. Sorry, I missed this. I forgot about this one. One more here. One more, y'all. It was hiding on me. Oh, no, I have two more. These are great, though. Guys, hantavirus, you're not going to believe it. Hantavirus can remain in human semen for up to 6 years. 6 years. And has the potential for sexual transmission. Even after a person is recovered, according to a peer-reviewed study, hantavirus may survive in human sperm for 6 years. You're going to kill everyone. Everyone's going to die from hantavirus. 6 years in your sperm. And this one's great too. I got one more from Canada. This is in honor of Tom Luongo coming today. Canada's done. Opinion. America's role as Canada's culture shaper is coming to an end. We're going to watch the CBC, whether you like it or not. We're not going to do any American. We're going to get rid of all the iPhones. We're going to get rid of all the Disney, HBO, Netflix, Hollywood, television, internet. We don't need any of it, you stupid American Trump MAGA people. We're going to make our own culture. We're going to shape our own culture now. We don't need you. We're just going to watch all of our own stuff, right? We're all going to watch CBC, right? That's what we're going to do instead of US TV. It's going to work out great, right? We don't need you, stupid Americans. We have our own culture. Beat it, losers. We're the best. Yay. It's a real story. 6 years of celibacy for you, indeed. So that's what we got. That is what we got. All right. So indeed, the trip over in China is over. Here's Trump. Here's that's China leaving. Amazing trip, I think, all in all. And we're going to have a quick look at how it all ended up. So the last part of the trip involved a little more friendship between Xi and Trump. So everyone's saying that this last location that Xi brought Trump was another one of these symbolic symbols of access. So he brought him to Zhongnanhai. And apparently that is kind of like where the president of China lives and a bit of the inner circle lives. And so here he says, I didn't expect Xi Jinping's second meeting with Trump to be at Zhongnanhai because after Trump had Maduro taken away, China deleted the detailed geographical information of Zhongnanhai from various maps. I don't know what any of that is about. Even if there was location information, it was tampered with and replaced, and the full view images could no longer be seen. This time, Xi Jinping's generous invitation to Trump to step into Zhongnanhai, the highest power hub of China, suggests that China is determined to improve Sino-US relations. And does look like that. Does look like that. A lot of people are bringing this up. These are all propagandists like we have in America as well. So these guys are all picking up on these. These are all Chinese propagandist accounts. President Xi giving a tour of exclusive backyard in Zhongnanhai, a side palace of two emperors of old, now a residence of the leaders of China. As Xi mentioned, he rarely takes foreign visitors to this part of Chinese leaders' living quarters. And here they talk a little bit about what they're seeing. Here's Trump asking a few questions. First of all, Trump doing his hilarious thing. Only special people get invited, right? So they're like, yeah, only special people. That was his big concern. Xi Jinping is taking President Trump on a full tour of ancient Chinese botanical gardens. This one's 400 years old. They live that long, and indeed, it's older than America. And so pretty interesting stuff. And Trump getting a pretty interesting tour. And then he was also, Trump also gave Xi Jinping his highest honor, right? The highest honor Trump can bestow personally on anyone is central casting. Here he gave it Xi Jinping, calling him very tall for a Chinese man. And he was central casting, perfect for a Hollywood movie. That is the number one compliment Trump can ever give you. So that's a big compliment, right? That's Trump's number one compliment, central casting. He gave the central casting compliment. Xi gave a gift to Trump as well, and it was seeds of roses found on Zhongnanhai. So that place he went to. Democrats are furious. 47 walking away with deals and gifts. The president was interested to learn all about that, including the Chinese roses, which he looked at. And I agreed to send the seeds for these roses to the president as a gift. I love it. That's great. I want to thank you very much. And I think you will see the roses in the famous White House rose garden. It would be a good place to plant them. So indeed, seeing them meet like this is great news, of course, great news. And lots of people talking about the fallout of all of this stuff. And Xi also, of course, said the actual words "Make America Great Again" and said they can be done hand in hand. So I'd say all the symbolism here looks pretty good. I think Trump and Xi have been working together in some capacity, meaning that World War III was never a possibility. And Trump has had this situation secure the entire time. China and Russia turned their backs on Iran and turned a blind eye while Trump removes their influence in our hemisphere. The entire global system is changing, and the nations that the US calls their allies may be a lot different in the not so distant future. So, starting to become pretty clear what's going on in the world, changing alliances, changing systems, the kind of stuff we've been talking about here for a long time. And I want to compare all of this friendship and Xi even saying the words "Make America Great Again" in Chinese, but definitely said it. And all those signals, because you have to, if you want to understand what's going on, you've got to take a bit of a, you got to get out of the weekly, daily time cycles and extend your view to a different time, longer time horizon, and compare some things, contrast some things. But just remember all this friendship and all that. You know, a lot of people on the internet saying, oh, it's just Xi trying to trick Trump. It's a trap. You know, it might be a trap. I don't know if it's a trap or not. But it's certainly friendly, and it's certainly a different way of interacting with the US administration, particularly with what it did when Joe Biden was leader. This is what happened when Joe Biden was leader. If you remember, they met in Alaska, and the Biden administration had its first high-level in-person meetings with Chinese officials in Alaska in March 2021, where a Chinese delegate said the United States does not have the qualification to speak to China from a position of strength. And I mean, this was a few months after a stolen election in 2020. And so you can see this contrast pretty clearly. I mean, they didn't do anything like this to Trump, right? It was definitely all flattery and friendliness. And now here they met in Alaska. Now the Alaska situation is important again because China pivoting toward Alaska oil is not about convenience. So that's another announcement that happened from all these meetings, right? China is looking to start surging oil imports from Alaska. So I've been laughing this whole time by saying that when Trump said it's only a 45-minute difference to go to America and get oil compared to Iran, I was like, oh, Trump is just doing his hyperbole. Of course, it's not 45 minutes. It's a completely, you got to go all around and across the Atlantic Ocean or across the whole Pacific and then go through the Panama Canal and go up into the Gulf of America to get that oil. But it turns out it's true. If you look at it from the point of view of Alaska, it's very close. I'd forgotten to look at Alaska. And so I guess the Alaskan ports are going to be tied in to the China situation. Another reason why I'm going to reiterate my prediction, which is Putin is headed to China next. Trump is talking about the meeting with Putin in Russia. I suspect that might happen over the summer. I think that might be added to the docket early, and you might see Trump go over there earlier. And again, I continue to predict that the Russia-America meeting is going to be even friendlier than what we've seen with the China-America meeting. And it will produce physical infrastructure, including a bridge or tunnel between Alaska and Siberia to induce the Russians to come over and help exploit the oil resources in Alaska to help supply Chinese demand, that there'll be upside in this for the Russians to participate in extraction and be able to sell to the Chinese. I know that sounds crazy, but I think that's what's going to happen. I think you're going to see something like that. So here, China pivoting toward Alaska oil is not convenience. It is a signal that the old choke point system is losing stability. The Strait of Hormuz was never just an oil route. It was a control mechanism tied to military leverage, shipping pressure, insurance markets, and global energy manipulation. This is all the stuff that was ripped out of the heart of Iran and the global financial and energy system when Trump did the blockade and did the actions in Iran. It's what I was saying from day one: the no escalation from China, no escalation from Russia, Abraham Accords holding, commercial relationships in the Middle East, creating their own little zone of influence, and the Lloyd's of London insurance contract, the no longer sharing information with the Five Eyes, and the tearing out of the derivatives market and price discovery of oil on the Brent crude price has all gone away and has been brought into America. So these things are big changes, and they're the real story behind all of this. And now watch the pattern. Trump restructures tariffs, trade lanes, sovereign manufacturing, and energy flow at the exact moment China begins hedging away from Iran towards the shortest and most stable route possible. And that's what it is. It's a better route for them altogether. Energy is becoming governance. Plain and simple. Logistics is becoming sovereignty. Common sense prevails. The global system is quietly shifting from ideological dependency to operational survivability, and the map is being redrawn right now. So, very interesting flows coming in there, and we're going to be paying attention. And so, even more when it comes to the situation in the rest of the world with this Iranian oil. You see here Brad Parscale. So he was one of the Trump campaign managers over the years, saying, please understand what's happening here. Trump is putting an economic squeeze on Iranian oil, and it's working. He has cut off the rest of the world from their oil, stripped them of their status in the crink, and forced everyone to buy oil from us. He's secured the Greenland deal, the Straits of Malacca, Venezuela, with Cuba next, then Panama. This is about restructuring the world order in favor of the United States, and it is working. And so I think, anyway, that's what we're going to continue to see. And even, one more reason why I'm predicting you're going to see Trump go to Russia is because peace is going to break out there too. Doc Hypnosis, I think, says it perfectly here. So here, Trump also says the Russian-Ukraine war will end very soon. Doc Hypnosis says the Russia-Ukraine war ended a while ago for all practical intents and purposes because we stopped talking about it. And that's how I've seen it for a while. So it's not getting the attention. No one really cares. And Russia, the reason why I think the meeting with Russia is going to happen sooner rather than later is because they're out of cards in Ukraine. Europe can't keep this thing going much longer. And you're already seeing Russia cooperate with the United States when it comes to Cuba. So I think there's going to be more tit for tat when it comes to Ukraine. So we get this from the Global Letter. Russia just handed the US a door into Cuba. It couldn't open for 65 years. So yesterday, a United States of America jet carrying the head of the CIA landed in Cuba for meetings with Raul Castro's grandson. So it looks like the Cuba handover for want of oil is happening now, and Russia made this possible for the United States. Here's the breakdown of that. The last Russian oil tanker docked in Havana on March 30th. That was it. No more shipments, no call, no explanation. Do you understand what that means? Cuba's energy minister went on record May 13th. We have absolutely no fuel oil, absolutely no diesel. Havana is running 20-plus hour blackouts, not rolling outages 20 hours a day. Russia previously supplied roughly 1 out of every 8 barrels to Cuba that Cuba needed monthly. That 1 in 8 supply line disappeared, not from sanctions, not from deal collapsing. Russia just stopped showing up. 6 weeks of silence later, the CIA director's plane landed in Havana. This is only the second CIA director visit to Cuba since the 1959 revolution. John Ratcliffe met with Cuban Interior Ministry officials and Raul Castro's grandson. So a little more about Raul Castro's grandson. He runs kind of a like a tech carve-out zone, like a zone for investments and stuff like that. Maybe they got the internet there or some electricity. Anyway, he's pretty tuned on to the whole venture capital tech world. So, maybe he's a likely candidate to lead the country. I'm not sure. That's what some people say. The U.S. offer on table 100 million trash tokens in humanitarian aid through the Catholic Church and NGOs. So that's kind of a red flag, but I guess you have to articulate the NGOs and Catholic Church in a way that you want anyway. So maybe that'll happen. The price attached fundamental changes to Cuba's communist system. Cuban President Diaz-Canel's response: it will encounter no obstacles or ingratitude. That is as close to yes as a communist government says out loud. Russia didn't negotiate Cuba away. It just forgot to refuel the island and walked off. The U.S. didn't break 65 years of frozen relations with diplomacy or pressure campaigns. It waited for the lights to go out, and that is what's happening. So Cuba next looks real and looks like it is going to happen. We'll see anyway. And so all of this peace breaking out here, James E. Thorne said, food for thought, a new peace dividend and the case for higher multiples. He says a new, if fragile, global peace dividend is starting to emerge, with Xi and Trump endorsing a 3-year framework of constructive strategic stability. The world's 2 largest powers are explicitly trying to shift from open-ended brinkmanship to managed rivalry, lowering the risk of sudden shocks across trade, technology, and security flashpoints. That doesn't resolve structural tensions over Taiwan or advanced chips, but it does aim to keep competition bounded and differences manageable, which is exactly how you engineer a gentler geopolitical backdrop for the real economy. For markets that shift matters because it begins to normalize the geopolitical environment that has been distorting risk premia since the trade war and pandemic era. And this is what we're going to talk about later. The risk premia since the trade war and pandemic era, a clearer 3-year horizon with fewer tariff salvos, sanction surprises, or confrontation scares supports more confident capex, smoother supply chain planning, and better earnings visibility for globally exposed firms. In that sense, a peace dividend of sorts is on the way as perceived geopolitical risk recedes. Equity risk premia can compress and valuations can drift higher, echoing, albeit on a smaller scale, the multiple expansion that followed the end of the Cold War in the 1990s. I think it'll be bigger. No bubble, a global re-rating. Ignore the doomers. And indeed, it is, I think, time to ignore the doomers, because if you look at what's going on, if you look at the changes that we're seeing, you can see right now that there's a very obvious contrast between the narrative, the doomers, and the narrative that people who understand economic flows, who understand economic systems, who understand energy systems, all of those things combined show a completely different and optimistic story. I think a lot like James Thorne is talking about here. This is a world that I think many of us Bitcoiners would have accepted 10 years ago gladly as the conditions that the world would be in for 2026. And here we are. And so seeing the usual suspects, like here's Peter Schiff still going on, absent a boots on the ground invasion and occupation, it's clear Iran will win this war. So you're hearing from a guy who does kayfabe all the time, right? He's pure kayfabe, this guy. And, his thing about Bitcoin was always fake. I've met this guy a bunch of times. I mean, in real, in a sense, but you're seeing a performer. But in the way that he gets the world wrong and the way that all Bitcoiners recognize his worldview to be missing, right, with his Bitcoin stuff, you can see here Tom Luongo also sees it the same. Literally the exact opposite outcome is being negotiated by Trump and Xi right now. And all the lolbertarians are simping for Iran. It's hilarious. Have they been a psyop the entire time? Don't forget, Tom Luongo will be on the show this afternoon. We're looking forward to it. So there he is. Indeed, ignore the doomers. It looks like things are clearly changing in the world. It looks like the systems that we've been talking about here for a long time, all changing at once. And it coincidentally also happens to be Fed Chair Powell's last day in office today. His time is coming to an end. So just look at the setup here as Bitcoiners. Today is Powell's last day as Fed Chair. 80% chance Clarity Act passes in 2026. The war in Iran is winding down. China wants the Strait of Hormuz open. S&P, NASDAQ, Dow are all at all-time highs. Bitcoin is still down 35% from the high. This is a generational buying opportunity. We all see that as Bitcoiners. But again, taking a step back and having a longer sense, not a 2-week cycle, not a 1-month cycle, years as Bitcoiners. Let's look at the trajectory we've been on for years now, over 10 years. I'll go back to, I'm 13 years as a professional in Bitcoin, or in Bitcoin this year. I'm a 13-year professional Bitcoiner working in Bitcoin, earning Bitcoin, working for Bitcoin, thinking about this change, the shift that we're on, making whiteboards and talking about how it changes persuasion, it changes worldviews, it changes all of these things. And now it's becoming very obvious kinetically in the real world. This story here is what is actually transpiring. And you can see the pivot. And here's Observing Consciousness, a great follow, a little bit like Sightbringer. Here saying, look at what happened when Trump landed in China and stopped viewing the world through isolated headlines. And that's what you have to do. You have to not look at it through headlines in 1 week. You've got to, as a Bitcoiner, go back to when you first became a Bitcoiner and compare now to then, and just look at how much closer our project of destroying the centralized apparatus of brainwashing and fake prison of two ideas and fake manipulation of markets in order to persuade and herd and nudge and coerce people to do things and prompt engineer them into different directions. It's all falling apart. And we're seeing something completely new take its place, something that Bitcoiners would recognize as the beginnings of a world shifting to a Bitcoin standard. And here you see from this, go back to those, that in my case, 30, whatever many years it's been for you, just compare the world we were in, whether it was like that Chinese guy talking about America not being in a position under Joe Biden to dictate terms to the Chinese, or any one of these scenarios. Just look at whatever era it was you got into Bitcoin, whatever state, think about the state of America, think about the state of your life, think about the state of the world at the time when you got into it, and look how far things have come. And here, China, Russia, Saudi Arabia, just this week, look at the movements that happened because Trump and Xi were having that meeting. You can see that all began moving around the same pressure points at the same time: energy, shipping lanes, AI, manufacturing, sanctions, currency settlement, and regional security. This is not random motion. That is systems convergence. Trump walking into China while pressure builds around Iran and the Strait of Hormuz is not just diplomacy. It is the visible layer of a deeper restructuring of the global operating system. Xi publicly calls for strategic stability while warning over Taiwan. Trump ties Iran, oil flow, trade, and security into the same conversation. Gulf states begin acting more independently. BRICS nations align with alternative settlement systems. Europe weakens under debt and energy pressure. Everyone is seeing it. The old pyramid depended on controlled scarcity. So these are all on my whiteboards. This is the whiteboard game that I play every day. The old pyramid, right? Depended on controlled scarcity, endless war management, centralized finance, and dependency chains hidden behind institutions people never question. That's credentialism, right? Now those rails are being exposed one by one: energy rails, trade rails, currency rails, AI rails, shipping rails, information rails, tech rails. The reason this moment matters is because the visible enemies may no longer be operating inside the old script people were taught to believe in. You can always see AI when this moment matters. Every one of them, this moment, it does it to me all the time. I have to engineer out this moment matters as a sentence. I'm so sick of hearing it. You can see AI every time. I don't mind people using AI, by the way. I'm not criticizing using AI. I'm criticizing letting AI be so uncreative, as this moment matters all the time. Important stuff, you know? So I want to, just 1 second. So it's because the visible enemies may no longer be operating inside the old script people were taught to believe in. The real divide, and this is the important paragraph that I wanted to keep here, the real divide is emerging between centralized global control systems and sovereign civilizational blocks attempting to rebuild parallel infrastructure outside the old architecture. Trump and China is not just a meeting, is a signal that the world is moving from hidden leverage toward open negotiation over who writes the next system: global sovereignty. And that's exactly this whiteboard. It's, you know, you can look at a few of these whiteboards that I've run, but this was the old world. And this is the new world here. And it's going from this top down centralized system where energy, communications, institutions, exactly as were described by emerging consciousness here. Is that what it's called? Observing consciousness here. Exactly as it was described by observing consciousness. And I wrote this board, if I can judge by the background, that was written and created when I was living at George Washington's house in Barbados. And I often, because that was when we were making the political pivot at Bitcoin Magazine. And that's when I was talking with RFK Jr. and Vivek. And that was where I was thinking about all of the politicization of Bitcoin into the American system. And that's what we ended up getting. This is the world we're in here. This is exactly it. It's decentralization. It's the new system, it's energy, it's batteries, it's an entirely different communications framework, an entirely different world. And it's real divide emerging between centralized global control systems and sovereign civilizational blocks attempting to rebuild parallel infrastructure outside the old architecture. That's exactly what it is. And you can see all of this stuff because China stripping away from that old world is important, right? Here, Labrador skeptics saying if you go back to 12 plus years ago, the Davos WEF transatlantic elites thought they had won and the world they would rule the world forever. They now control none of the top three world powers, including Russia, and the big two don't give a damn about the optics of not having women or blacks. And this comes from this here, a painting of the end of meritocracy, a meeting of the two largest economies, and not one woman at the table. Oh no, not one woman. Can you believe it? Not a woman. How could there not have been a woman at the table between China and the United States? So the sludge people trying to turn a big issue into that. But these are the new systems getting built, right? The G's, I used to call this, the Axis, right? It looks like they've capitulated. The BRICS thing is not going to work out. They're going to keep their firewall for them. Mutually assured destruction has been abandoned with the Iranian situation. So this whole belligerent plank here is gone. And the all eyes also in complete and total failure mode. The route is on. You're seeing everything from that world get lost right at the table. The world is split, and the Euros and the Dems, it would be absolutely required for the Western side of the table to be more than half women and minorities. There are, however, completely out of power at the top of the world stage, at least for the moment. So that looks like it's what's happening, right? Xi may pay them token lip service, but the WEF transatlantic elites have completely lost China. The West is legitimately in play. These break a 35-year trend line, meaning that not only is history not over, but the inevitable arc of history and radical leftist DEI domination is far from inevitable. When the USSR collapsed in 1991, it left one world economic and military superpower that was unchallenged along with its NATO allies. A group of international institutions could, for the first time, really control the world. With the complicity of the rhinos, that started the US down a path of deindustrialization while accelerating leftward. With the participation of all significant US elites, it was supposed to be unstoppable. The public had no choice. Since then, Trump and populist right wing have won 3 US presidential elections in a row, despite the blatant steal of the second. The winds of right-wing populism are rising in Europe as well. China has completely escaped control and containment. The idea that Xi will do what Europe dictates is laughable. So what made the photo of table quite remarkable? It meant that the one power that had controlled the entire world had, at least for the moment, completely lost control of the 2 largest powers in the world. That doesn't mean the left is defeated. It is more radical than ever and has every intention of destroying the right and right-wing base. But now it's an actual battle. There is certainly the possibility that we might just destroy them instead. However, it turns out what has happened in the last few years is an epic defeat for what had been the most powerful uncontested group of global elites in history. It needs to be savored. And I'm savoring it. I'm enjoying it every day. We love it. It's, again, always nice to be right about stuff and to see this model explain the world we're in today and to be useful as a framework to analyze what's going on. This one here I made in probably 2022, and so all of these were made in the middle of the Joe Biden years. and they look like they can still explain what's going on. And indeed, this new faction of sovereign-minded people, I call them the Ables, are attracting more and more energy from the Allies, more and more energy from the Axis. America clearly lining up with the Ables and clearly lining up with this new system. And so when I think of these frames that I've made and ways of explaining the world, more than ever, now that you can see this framework of Abel's and these people with capacity starting to align with, or America starting to align with that whole faction and embracing that whole team that Trump brought, the team of CEOs and all the people that are around Trump now, and all the people that are not even involved in politics, that are just out there building stuff. Their ability to build and realize what they're doing and get somewhere, and bringing the world into an actual kinetic place where building means profiting, where building means getting ahead, and not just being a credentialist. You can see more than ever that these three groups, these three belligerent groups that I created to describe what World War III, who was fighting World War III, what the groups were, that is now clearly collapsing. So this three tripartite World War III belligerent classification is now, I think, collapsing into just two. And it's the All Eyes versus the Ables, because most of the Axis and the G infrastructure is being sucked up by the Ables, because they recognize they want to be on the winning side and they want to be aligning with victory and winning. And so it looks like that's what's happening. And just like we heard from what's his name, the Bitcoin, what do you call him again? What's his stupid name? The one who's always crying about Bitcoin. I just brought his name up. I don't know where it is anymore. Schiff. Just like Schiff and all of these guys, it's time now that you can see when people are still trying to fight against this change. They're still trying to say that, this European system, the All Eyes, when you look at the power they're losing and the capacity they're losing, you can see they're only plank left. The only thing they have left going for them is this top-down information control that is 100% predicated on credentialism. And it looks like now this frame that I wrote my hit book on, if you remember my hit book, The Bitcoiner's Guide to NPC Management, you can see that all the struggles left in this World War III framework, almost everything that's left on the ledger to fight about, and everything that we're currently debating and arguing, all of this stuff comes down to really the arguments I used in the Bitcoiner's Guide to NPC Management. The only fights we have left are with NPC archetypes. And as Bitcoiners, I wrote this book because we can handle each of them in our own unique way. And the credentialist one is working on that's what they're going for, right? They're going for this top down, we're experts on disinformation, but it's not working. So remember, the essence of an NPC is in the grand game of life, NPCs are those who wander the paths laid before them unquestioningly. They're accepted the world as it's been presented, a stage set by the directors of the fiat system, mistaking the sets props, wealth, status, security for the plot itself. Understand, dear peer, these characters aren't our adversaries. There are charges, fellow players, yet you realize that they're part of the game. So the important ones that I've used here in my method, which is how to use Bitcoin as an NPC type decoder. If you listen, to this, what I call the mirror of disbelief, it's the reasons for which people say Bitcoin won't work, but it's the same reasons people use to advance almost all of these top-down information structures and all of these almost absurd, self-defeating worldviews that are out there that the NPCs continue to cling to. The mirror disbelief is you'll find that NPCs see a distorted mirror in Bitcoin, seeing in it reflections of their fears, illegality, instability, complexity, or sheer anarchy. They dismiss it, ridicule it, fear it, or worse, remain indifferent to it. Recognize these reflections for what they are. They're not the flaws of Bitcoin, but the fears of the beholder. The mirror is your guide, for it reveals not just the state of their slumber, but the nature of their dreams. So I put here the credentialist as the first type, and you can see that's all they've got now. They're going with the credentialist thing. Here's the Europeans now arguing for total censorship. You have to have total and complete censorship. Listen to this video. It is hilarious. And this is the plan. This is literally all they have left. And it's not going to work, obviously. It's all a big failure. But here's what they're saying, right? So how persuasive is this total and complete censorship lockdown, right? It's hilarious, but it's not going to work.
Rules. Now, we've tended to forget that infrastructure is able to set rules because we've generally regulated infrastructural providers such that they're not allowed to set their own rules or only within very strict parameters. But we haven't done that on the internet. And so because infrastructure set rules, if you have authoritarian infrastructure providers, you have an authoritarian society running on top of it. And that is the problem of sovereignty. So again, how do we fix this? What do we do about this? Well, there's no way out other than producing and controlling our own infrastructure, replacing these systems with our own. And this is not to say that regulation isn't helpful. It helps, but it can't be the only solution, because compared to the power of these infrastructure providers, you would have to apply regulation very forcefully, potentially up to and including kinetic methods in order to apply it. So it's
going to kill you,
Can I underscore what do you mean by kinetic methods?
And using the military, yeah. And I'm not making you mentioned NATO. The Talon manual does include.
So exactly, using the military. They're going to use the military to censor you now. That's what they're left with, right? They need 100% information control in Europe. Military action is justified against those spreading disinformation. Europe needs its own tightly regulated internet like China. This is exactly what my board predicts, and it's what these NPCs are doing. And it's why they're going with this stuff. This is exactly what my board said they would go with their trademarked internet. They're going for their Chinese version of the firewall and actually threatening military force, kinetic force against people who don't follow the rules. So they're already criminally investigating Elon Musk, of course, right? And now the media, with this credentialist stuff, it's just not working anymore. The good news is people realize, and Bitcoiners have realized, that the best way to deal with the credentialists is just to laugh at them. Like this sludge person, I don't want to fat shame this guy, right? I'm not going to fat shame this guy at all or call him a slob or anything like that, right? I'm just going to focus on his opinions. And he's sitting there threatening military action against people. How do you think that's going to work out? Do you think that could or would actually happen? I mean, maybe, but it's not going to persuade anyone. I don't think any European is going to be like, oh, now that they're threatening violence, I should really comply. Like, which way do you think this is going to send people, right? In the end, it just kind of has people laughing that a sludge person like this is an actual sludge person. This guy clearly crawled out of a tube somewhere in the ground filled with sludge and went like, I'm going to get the military because these platforms, I got to kill these people, right? I'm going to kill them. So this guy is not persuasive. No one even knows who this fucking loser is. I've never heard of this dumb shit before in my life. And so his persuasion ability is zero, right? It's zero. And credentialists in general, using the credentialist card isn't working anymore. It's just culture. But look at the credentialist card. They're trying to use it now in the Odyssey, right? They're trying to use the credentialist stuff in the debate around the Odyssey to defend Christopher Nolan. And here you get The View, right? The View, of course. I'm going to stop sharing and share again. Here's The View going on about the Odyssey. This is some really fun stuff. Really, really fun, right? So Here they're saying that no, no, no. I was a teacher, Sonny Hoistons said. I was a teacher, right? I taught Greek to middle school kids, she said. And she's saying that if you don't think Helen of Troy cannot be black, you don't know history. He says the Greek culture comes from Africans. Woke history isn't some amusing distraction. He who controls the past controls the future, and these people want a future without whites. Now, that's probably true, but it's not working, right? You got 60 minutes trying to run defense now for him. That's not working. If you don't know history, you don't know that Helen of Troy could be black. Variety tried shaming critics, Elon, for calling out DEI nonsense. 60 Minutes doing damage control. Christopher Nolan here defend ruthless backlash against the Odyssey casting. All of this trying to use the credentialist. We know history, you don't, but it just turns into laughter. Again, why in my framework I always used this laughter piece as an important factor in turning around this system of control. You have to, like the credentialists, the way in my book that I say you should deal with the credentialists was always really simple. It's this simple, right? It is pity the fool. It is all about pity, laughing at them, pity the fool, aka the credentialist. The credentialist, ensnared by their desire for prestige and paralyzed by the fear of embarrassment, is deeply entranced. They trust the old guards and the traditional citadels of knowledge. To awaken them, we must cast the pity spell, a subtle yet potent enchantment. Begin by empathizing with their journey, right? The years they've spent safeguarding their reputation. So these are all just advice. Don't argue statistics, right? It's just junk food journalism. It's just pity. I'm sorry you got this. I'm sorry this happened to your brain. I'm sorry your brain is broken. I'm sorry that you're retarded. You don't argue with someone like Sonny Hostins about whether or not I know history or you know history. Do you think Africa created Greece culture? Right? You can do that, but it doesn't work. Just laugh at them. It's just laughter. You're just laugh. I'm sorry this was done to you. I'm sorry you believe that. And laughing in their face, not arguing, laughing in their face is the way to do it, right? It's what I do with, I did this with the elections all the time. When Joe Biden was president, and people would say, because I would just say, well, they stole the 2020 election, and then people would say, you don't know that, and then I would say, oh, you believe the news? Just start laughing at them for believing the news, right? Believing the news in and of itself is the problem. So that's how I believe it, right? And you can use these pity the fool incantations against credentialists, and in general they work. They're pretty helpful, because none of these people should be taken seriously for what they're talking about, right? They're obviously mostly all mentally ill, and Greeks are pissed off about it. This is pure, it's only going to make Greek people angry. They're going to argue all they want, but I don't think Sonny Hostins is going to carry the day on this argument. And this movie obviously is going to fail. There's no way this movie can do well now. There's just zero way. And we still don't even know if What's Her Slut is Achilles. If that's the case, it's going to be even funnier. Look at all the jokes that are happening about old What's Her Slut being a Achilles character. You guys have seen a lot of them, right? I got this one here. This one is very funny. A lot of people laughing at it. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's pretty good stuff. It's from the Troy movie, right? It's funny. This is supposed to be Achilles, right? And it's always like I laugh too much when they put Transformers outro, right? So it's Ellen Page gets the Transformers outro, Very good stuff. It's very funny. Very funny. I find this stuff funny. That's just me. I got a sixth sense of humor for this stuff though. So that's, you don't have to find it funny. I find it funny. If you don't want to laugh at it, you don't have to. But to me, I'm into the trend. Every video now of her, there's a whole bunch of these, right? People like, she just gets obliterated in every story now, pretending to be Achilles, and every one of them now ends with the Transformers outro. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. So the credentialism thing, just not going to work. Laughing at them, they're giving more and more of an opportunity to laugh at them. They go further. They dig even deeper on this credentialism story, though, here on the show. So they're not done saying that I'm a high school Greek professor in America. So if you don't know that Helen of Troy could be back, you don't know history, like that whole thing. Okay, that might work in a high school in America, right? But now they're going after, okay, no one gives a shit about Greek history unless you're Greek. But it gets better. It gets better, right? They went further with the credentialism on the show. They went even further. And here they start attacking Spencer Pratt. Okay, they start attacking Spencer Pratt because Spencer Pratt didn't get a JFK Community Award, and he didn't even go to law school. How can he be the mayor of LA? How can he be more qualified than Karen Bass? So again, doubling down on the credentialism. Listen to this.
But actually being qualified to take on that role is what's hard.
So Karen Bass will be running against Spencer Pratt.
She is. And
okay, I just want to make this point. Yeah. So Karen Bass has a JFK Profile and Courage Award. Mm-hmm. She navigated California through the worst economic crisis since the Depression.
She led them through it.
Spencer Pratt was Snapchatter of the Year.
Snap
at the 2018 Shorty Awards.
Yeah.
That's all.
Well, I mean, I think you're talking about qualifications, right?
Oh, you're a high school teacher in Greek.
The problem that I have with someone like Spencer Pratt throwing his hat into this particular ring as LA mayor, we're talking about a $14.9 billion budget for the city. It's the second largest city budget in the country. And he is not qualified for it. And we see what happens when people are not qualified for their jobs. And that's not to say that this.
Anyway, I can't listen to this retarder. They go on. He's not going to go to school, right? So credentialism isn't going to work. That's not going to be a thing that gets them where they're going here. But that's why the second NPC type that I create in my framework here, the followers, right? The followers are echoes in the valley. Their voices lost among the thousands, right? They talk about secondhand stories, scams, dangerous, right? To engage them, you must become part of the trusted circle. They must see in you the harmony of being part of something grand while still cherishing the unique melody that you bring, blah, 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 blah. Bitcoin community networks, meetups. The way I describe the mimetic awakening is the optimism spell, right? Optimism. Ever seeking acceptance and dreading rejection, right? The follower believes in the safety of the herd. They tread worn path. The spell of optimism is the antidote. Paint them a picture of a future bright with the iridescent glow of Bitcoin. And it doesn't have to be Bitcoin in this case. Spencer Pratt has a different approach so far. I do predict he's going to go after the Bitcoin community pretty soon, though. Very vibrant and healthy Bitcoin community in LA, by the way. It always surprises me, and it's an amazing thing. You must be their beacon of hope, the embodiment of the joyous future you describe. Let them know that this community does not just accept, but celebrates one's choice to break free from the fiat spell. So that's the good news, right? Spencer Pratt is not going to spend any time on this credentialism debate. He's not going to spend time doing any of this stuff. He's talking about a better future, and he's using all of this technology to do it. Someone gave him apparently some billionaire, he won't say the name, but some billionaire. Let me see if I can find the tweet before I show you. Yeah, so I have a friend, by the way, named Munzar, and he calls himself Munzar the Funzar. So I've always loved Funzar. So apparently this billionaire approached future Los Angeles mayor wanting to give 500 million US trash tokens if he wins to make California fun again. Spencer Pratt is LA's only chance, time to get loud. So he's going to give him the chance to be the fun czar with 500 billion. So that's a little bit about how to make it great again. But here's a great video that Spencer Pratt's campaign came out with today. And again, this is just the, painting a picture of what the world is like, painting an optimistic vision of the future. Here's Spencer Pratt's latest video. And this is the kind of stuff that credentialism just can't keep up with. It's just too powerful, too persuasive. And of course, we all can see the level of persuasion that Spencer Pratt is working with here. Let me find the correct video. I don't know why, but these things have been just off. Normally they're in a much more predictable order, but something's wrong with them. So watch him here paint this picture of the future in the video. That's why these videos are just so great. Let me know if the audio is coming through.
Daddy!
You were in a coma. 3 years.
2028.
MacArthur Park, right? Where are all the needles and homeless people?
The mayor fixed it.
Wait, isn't this downtown? Where are all the tents? The piss and the shit and the criminal drug addicts?
The mayor fixed it.
They rebuilt the Palisades? How?
The mayor fixed it.
Wow. Karen Bass really turned the city around.
Karen Bass isn't the mayor anymore, honey.
Who's the mayor?
Spencer Pratt.
You can't beat this stuff. You just can't beat it. It's too good. It's too good. He had another great one too. He redid the he redid the Lego Everything is Awesome video, but everything is terrible. We'll see what it's called again. I'll play the video here for you guys. I'm not sure we've seen just a flurry of incredible campaign content. Any other candidate like this since Trump? Definitely some amazing energy around Spencer Pratt.
Everything is hell when you're part of the scene. Karen Bass is awful and burning down our streets. Dirty needles, human waste. We just named two awful things: a stolen car, a burned down house. You know what's awful? Everything. Moms in shock, hit the locks. A camp of addicts down the block. Lots of tents, a very big mess. Awful things are not the best. Camps, traps, and crap. They're awful. Crack, smack, and shacks. They're awful. Slums and scum and bums. That's awful. Everything you see or smell or touch is awful. Karen Bass is awful. Everything is hell when you're part of the team. Everything is awful. And she's killing our dreams. Wait, somebody's fighting back now. Standing up and taking flag
Warren.
now. Spencer Pratt lost everything. The flames take everything. But instead of looking, he's exposing this whole town, calling out the corrupt machine. Somebody's gotta clean this scene. Let's go! Truth, proof, and receipts. Not awful.
Proof and receipts. We love it in Bitcoin. He's going to become a Bitcoiner. There's no way he can't. And here he is enjoying the latest gift given to him by his retardentialist follower opponents. I guess whatever her name is again. She decided that we can't have barbecues in LA anymore if there's red flag warning days. So they're going to restrict barbecues. Los Angeles mayor candidate Spencer Pratt trolled Raymond following a report that she proposed a backyard barbecue ban. She actually introduced the motion this week, directing city officials to examine emergency restrictions on grilling during red flag warning days. The New York Post reported the proposal was quickly blocked. There's Spencer Pratt doing some smoke barbecuing. There you go. It's happening. It's happening. So followers want barbecues. You want to ban barbecues and win an election? Good luck. It's not going to work out for you. All you have to say is, we're going to have barbecues and you'll be fine. Now, the reason I'm predicting Spencer Pratt is going to win is because of Elon's razor. There's people out there, oh, he can't win because there's a Democrat machine in California. They're going to cheat on the election. They're going to cheat on the votes. They're going to do the ballot drops. They're going to do the mail-in voting. That all might be true. But I still go with the most entertaining outcome is the most likely. Here, Spencer Pratt has signed a deal to document his family as the first family of LA, but only if he wins the mayor race. The mayoral candidate inked a contract with a production company to roll cameras on him, Heidi Montag, and their kids throughout his political journey and potentially inside the mayor's office. This could be the most entertaining LA administration in history or total chaos. He's going to win. Now, it also proves another theory that I've had for you guys, which is I know I tell you guys that the privacy people who want privacy all the time, they like the Monero, they want Bitcoin to be all about privacy right now, today. I always call them theater kids, and I say it's theater kid stuff because it's not real yet. The incentives just aren't there. I don't value my privacy, not because I don't want to. I can't be nagged into it. It's just not going to work. The incentives, the world, the system isn't really there. There's no upside in all of this privacy. So I've always believed that we'll get to privacy once we change the money and change the way we think and alter our subconscious and alter what we want and how we get dopamine and what we're afraid of and all of these things that will change as we change the money. So I've always believed in the privacy argument for Bitcoin as a two-step process. Change the money first, live a generation on this new cycle, recalibrate, and then I think we're going to get back to privacy and have an interest in it and recreate the incentives that will lead to a world where our own individual sovereignty and privacy is more valued. And there's more reason to do it and people want it. So, but I said in the interim, before we get to privacy for the individual, we're going to get a new change, which is while we are spied on mercilessly and everyone knows our actions and our activities and what we're doing and where we're going and this and that, that instead of us protecting our privacy from them, that we would actually create a new infiltration of transparency the other direction, that governments themselves would now become as scrutinized as individuals are, and that transparency in government is going to be the next frontier, so that everyone has everything aired out in public all the time, including the politicians, that we can't probably preserve our own privacy, but we can ruin the privacy of politicians and eliminate it because there's going to be upside for people to enjoy these stories and to be entertained and to follow people this way. So Spencer Pratt here is trailblazing what I think is going to be standard operating issue in the future. I think standard operating procedure for politicians in the future is cameras around them all the time. We're going to demand it. We're going to want that because you're going to want to know what they're thinking. You're going to want to know what they're saying. You're going to want more info. Trump was already kind of that because of the way he can talk to the media spontaneously and without a script and all of these things. He brings live reality TV into the interview booth and into the newsrooms and into all of that. So that's one iteration. Now, Spencer Pratt is even more reality TV than Trump himself. So this is appropriate. This is the direction it's headed. This is the more entertaining way to lead us into a better interim place before we can re-incentivize and revalue our own privacy and renegotiate that relationship with the state. We need the leverage of Bitcoin to be able to get there. So change the money first, and then we can focus on privacy. I don't put the privacy. I know a lot of people put the privacy thing before the money thing. I don't think you can do that. I disagree with that plan. I would like it to be that way, but we might as well just be going for magic at that point. It just doesn't make sense to me. So here, this is the direction we're headed in. What Spencer Pratt here is doing, welcoming the cameras in. First of all, because it is the most entertaining outcome, it's what's going to help him win. People want this. They're going to want more Spencer Pratt. That's how come he's going to win. Now, people can say all the time that they can cheat to win. They can't cheat at the scale that Spencer Pratt is inducing here. You can only cheat so much with these methods. Very few people vote in municipal elections. They're the easiest to cheat for that reason. So if you increase the amount of voters, you increase the amount of cheating, which means it can get exposed and caught. So I think Spencer Pratt is going to induce so many first-time voters, so many people who don't care about voting, that it's going to be too big to rig. And I think he's going to win. I really do. I know a lot of people keep saying uphill battle, all of this stuff. It's going to be really hard. Maybe. But again, his entertainment value is so high right now that in a city like LA, that counts as a lot. And so, and especially when you compare it to what else is going on, right? You know, the old world is absolutely falling apart. The old follower world, the old credentialist world. You know, Stephen Colbert's Last Week is on TV. Just look at Spencer Pratt versus a new face of entertainment. Look at him compared to the old faces. Stephen Colbert's Last Week. This is an old one from a long time ago, but just to show you how pathetic this stuff is and how not entertaining it is and how stupid it all is. I played this video for you before. But I continue to just be amazed by it. He's there with, what's her slut? I can't remember her name. It doesn't really matter. Doesn't matter what her stupid name is. Let me find. Yeah, so it's his last show today, tomorrow, or something like that. Maybe it was last night. I don't know. I've never watched you. I hated him even on the Daily. I hated the Daily Show, by the way. I hated the Daily Show when it was Obama era. I hated it. I hated whatever his stupid show, the Colbert Report or whatever it was. Anyone who would even bring it up to me, like if I was a law student back then, you know, we would always, even back then in, you know, 06, 07, 08, very regular party for us was throwing on YouTube and sitting around in the living room and each of us taking our turn, kind of DJing on what was clips and videos. And if someone dared to put a fucking Stephen Colbert video on when I was around back then, it was a lashing immediately. I didn't even want to be around it. I hated it. I hated it. From day one, I hated him. Just thought it to be so stupid and unentertaining, and the whole shtick was dumb. So that it's his last day working is a nice time for me. But here he is. Hilarious stuff.
I know you guys are objective over there, that you just report the news as it is. Oh, I know. CNN makes a. I know
that's supposed to be a
laugh line.
And he gets the laugh.
It's supposed to be, but
yeah. So here's their version of entertainment, right? So Cox Trump polling no live and last Biden impression ever. So the follower meme about a better world and all that, like Spencer Pratt is using, it's working. He's got people entertainment. This not working. That's why it's canceled. And this is the best he can come up with on his last show, right? So on his last show, he decides kissing a male on the lips is the way to both promote the Star Wars movie and the end of his show, right? So not really the kind of stuff that a lot of Americans kind of want to see. All right. So it's not working. And now you see this too, just so you can see that this using of celebrity culture is losing steam. That's how follower NPCs were conjured. There was credentialism, which was I won a JFK Community Award and I was a high school teacher of Greek myth, that right for a little while, but that's gone. And the follower, a better idea, entertain things, right? That was the way to do it. Bring that model more entertaining. Stephen Colbert failing totally. But here, this one here gives you a really good sense of what we're up against, and this is relevant to me. So here yesterday, you get Bono. Oh, Bono is out in Mexico. Bono with you out of Mexico. So just as I said, I hated Stephen Colbert from day one, and even era, because I was already politically active back then in 2005, 2006. Stephen Harper won in Canada in 06, and I was a part of that campaign. And I was a part of the 06 Stephen Harper campaign. And do you know who we had to run against? We had to run against this fucking piece of shit. Came and campaigned with the Liberals, the predecessor of Justin Trudeau's part, this motherfucker in Canada, to give a free concert and campaign against us. Now, I'm sitting there saying, how the fuck can we win when you got peak U2? Peak U2. Peak. I mean, maybe the 80s or Octoon Baby 90s were peak, but Pop was out around then, that album. They were pretty big in 04, 05, right? So I come back from living in Korea, and first of all, the Habs goal song had changed to Hello, Hello, that U2 song. So that was already bad news. U2 is already a Habs. So every time the Montreal Canadiens score a goal, it's fucking U2 playing. So that's already training people to like U2 in this area even more. And so U2 comes out, and U2 starts campaigning for the Prime Minister of Canada to stay in office. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? Why are they interested in this campaign? What is happening? Why is U2 coming to Canada? And how the hell did I end up having to campaign against U2 at the height of their popularity? So, like I said, I was already politically engaged and motivated at that time. When I got back from my time in South Korea, I had become radically right-wing, populist, conservative, whatever was going on at the time. I was dead set on getting the Liberals out of Canada because they were causing a lot of trouble in Quebec when I got back. They were buying, they had a huge scandal where they had supplied marketing materials and campaign materials to the pro-Canada side of Quebec and got caught. It was all pork barrel bullshit and caused a lot of trouble for me. And so I was 100% against it, and didn't, when I got back, all of a sudden separation is back. Things were just getting better in Quebec, and now it looked like we were going to hit the fucking skids again. And so I was pissed off about it. So that's why I joined Stephen Harper. I was like, screw these guys, man. Screw Canada. I'm working with the Albertans, and we're getting rid of this shit because it sucks. And we had to go against this fucking guy. Here he is now. Back, as we see, we've been warned many times by Mike Benz about what Bono really is. And it turns out he's a big piece of shit. He's out meeting with Mexico President Claudia Sheinbaum. Now, I'm saying all of this stuff to remind you that these guys don't matter anymore. We beat him already in 05 at the height of his power. Do you think he's getting anything done now meeting with Sheinbaum? No, that's the end. That's the end. And so, we'll be able to align with power in those ways. So I'm running out of time here, I see. But I do want to get to a few more of these frames to help you and help us understand. So the other one here is, the next one is the sports baller in my framework, right? About sports ballers. I told you about sports ballers before, right? So sports ballers are my third type. NPC, sports ballers, have fun staying poor, jinx, right? Competitive to the core, sports baller seeks victory and fear loss more than any other. So the have fun staying poor meme here works. And we're starting to see this fight in the American political world around the AI data centers. And now it just means that we got to make our case, because Democrats are opposing them, of course, because of global warming. Here's Eric Schmidt saying AI may hit a money wall before it hits a power wall. Again, I'll reiterate that the situation we have with Warsh taking over today at the Federal Reserve is that he knows how to deliver this AI miracle, or at least he believes in it and has a plan to get there. He might fail. I'm not sure. But here, the real limit to AI is not energy, it's actually cash. When you add up the cost of these things, says Eric Schmidt here, we might not be able to pay for it. So what I've been saying is that this should be seen as military style economic objectives, and that Bitcoin in the middle of the power financing regime is the answer. More energy, more electricity. Financing a build out of electrical capacity and electrical systems is the answer. So that's why here, when you see all these people complaining, a Gallup poll, 70% of Americans strongly oppose AI data centers being built near their home and community. You see several, Matt Walsh did a big feature on it, against it. Tucker Carlson did one yesterday too. So two big podcasters in one day come out against the AI data centers. You got a lot from Cernovich along the same lines here. Let me just get rid of a few of these. You get Cernovich, same story, anti data center. So two stories, plus a lot of MAGA folks, a lot of right-wing folks coming out and saying, no deal, can't do it, not going to do it. Here's Cernovich with one of them. This type of saying it looks like COVID stuff, right? You have to do it or we'll lose to China, right? But here's the important part, right? Here's the important part. Big tech has a generational opportunity to rebuild the Rust Belt. Put data centers in Detroit and Gary, Indiana. Keep those things off of our farmland and beautiful open spaces. If we are at war with China, then rebuild and reindustrialize. Otherwise, we know it's a dark plot. And that's what we're going to be able to do. We are going to be able to rebuild in that way. And that is why we're going to win. Bitcoin has figured out the finance mechanism. We're going to build the freedom cities, the Bitcoin citadels. Do you know that I've imagined? I was actually out looking for a house in the Rust Belt in New York in like 2016, going to totally fucked to death, burnt out, rotten towns. And I could already see that the data center thing, the Bitcoin mine thing, was going to revitalize these communities. Already then I could see it. And so we're there, and the Rust Belt is the place to build a lot of this stuff. So it can happen. I believe it's going to happen. We're optimistic about it. We're going to hear what Hank, who's just arrived in the room, has to say about it. Hank, are we going to build the Rust Belt? Is that going to happen?
Put those data centers in space. I don't want them here. Get them out of my backyard. Space is not a bad argument.
Space is a good argument, but we want the citadels. We want the freedom city model. You know, something Trump talked about on his campaign that we haven't heard more about, but I believe you will hear about it this summer, is a contest, a freedom city contest to build 10 new free cities. He's already got one of the 10 that are going to be announced, and that's for Mark Wahlberg in Nevada to compete against Hollywood. And so that one is almost a guarantee. Mark Wahlberg has been trying to build a studio city in Nevada because of the crazy rules. And like, you can't smoke a cigarette in a movie in California.
Come on. I thought this was America. I should be able to smoke whatever I want. Crazy.
So how you doing, man? How's life?
Good. Life is good. A little bummed today. We were supposed to have the Mooch on the show, but he had to reschedule, as happens sometimes. So that's okay. We'll have him another time. So no, I had some interesting stuff to ask him, but we'll put it on the back burner in the meantime. But what have you guys been chatting about today, Nolan?
Well, we wrapped up the China trip, and then we looked at just how it's changed the world, you know, take a little bit of a wider stance on what's going on, and attacked the doomer narrative out there, the doomers, right? How could anyone be a doomer these days because of how awesome things are holding up in a lot of places in the world? It looks like we got, what's his name, Powell's out today. We got the markets at an all-time high. We got new peace breaking out between Russia, Ukraine, America, China. So I said, you know, the only thing that really we have left to deal with, you can actually chart from my, I'll share it here, my hit book, the Bitcoiner's Guide to NPC Management, is a book that I wrote a few years ago.
Speaking of NPCs, did you see Trump's walk into China? It was very NPC-esque. Everybody's just on the side doing this.
Yeah, we love those. Those are our favorites.
Awesome.
Here was my here's my hit book.
Ooh,
so,
I like the cover.
Yeah, this was it's a really fun cover.
Nice.
Get rid of that. Anyway, it's got some pretty cool advice here on basically not arguments with people, right? It's an anti-arguing book, but it shows people will use credentialism, for example, as a way, governments are going to shut Bitcoin down. I have a degree in this and that. And it's like, okay, that doesn't matter. So I used 2 examples. So Sunny Hoystons on The View today said that she was a high school teacher of Greek history. And if you don't believe that Troy was black, you don't know history. But then they also attacked Spencer Pratt because he didn't go to law school. So how could he possibly run LA? They're doing so great. They're doing so great.
Yeah.
So, and then I make the argument that another NPC type that I have in this book called followers, that, basically with followers, if you paint a optimistic vision of the future, people will follow that. So Spencer Pratt had this really great persuasive video that came out today of a guy who woke up in a coma 3 years from now, and his family's bringing him around to LA, and it's all nice. And he's like, what's going on?
Where are the homeless people?
And so I predict Elon's razor, the most entertaining outcome is the most likely. So Spencer Pratt has signed a deal to have a permanent reality show, him and Heidi Montag, if he wins. So if he wins, every day you're going to have the cameras in the house, and it's going to be, which is my prediction, that we're not going to get to full, a lot of kids want privacy right now. Bitcoin is for privacy and all that stuff. I keep saying, fix the money, change incentives, will value privacy more. So privacy is something that'll come later. What we can get in the interim is reversing the transparency. So it's not just us getting spied on, that we're going to get maximum transparency from the government. And this is one of those. Yeah, this is one of those examples. I think we're headed to that world first, right?
What if the White House, we install it with cameras like Big Brother, and then that becomes a show too? And we always know what these slime bags are doing out there.
It's always been that way. So that's why Nixon tried. So Kennedy put in a full wiretap system of the White House. And when Watergate started, Nixon, to stop it, believed that if he released everything he's ever said in the White House, it's called the Nixon tapes. He did. He released it all. It's like a huge book of every recording, and it's hilarious. The Jews and all this stuff. It's the fags, the gays, everyone knows.
I just imagine him like practicing in front of the mirror. I'm not a crook. I'm not a crook.
No, you actually, it's very endearing. It's actually an endearing. He thought it was going to clear him. In the end, it didn't work out at the time. It just turned into attacks and all that stuff. But re-listening to it now actually does endear him. It's pretty funny.
I bet Trump's would be even more hilarious. God only knows what he is saying when the doors are closed.
Well, I think it's the same. I think it's the same. I think, well, it's actually less entertaining. Yeah. I know a lot of people have actually spent a lot of private time with him, and he's the character stops. Like,
does he?
He's actually, by all measure, he is actually very interested in other people and is a question asker and a big listener. Believe it or not, that's the actual intel I get.
He knows the part he plays. Is kind of like Spencer Pratt came out. He's like, listen, I was the heel for 20 years, but that was the part I was playing in. This was my job. So
you're getting into the wrestling talk. Heel. You're getting into the wrestling stuff. You're getting into the kayfabe. Speaking of kayfabe, I got Tom Luongo on my show at 1 p.m. Eastern time.
That's
so
exciting.
He's a big kayfabe guy. So we're going to talk about that.
Nice. Well, very cool, Nolan. I'm going to let you guys wrap up. I know we got to get started over here in a few minutes. I'll see you next week. Enjoy your weekend, buddy.
Yeah, you too, man. It's a holiday weekend in Canada. It's our Memorial Day.
Nice.
And so I celebrate both, though. So I have double long weekends.
Well, if it's in Memorial, I'll allow it. So get out of here. Celebrate your Canadian Memorial Day weekend. We'll see you next week.
Peace. See you, my man. All right, folks. You heard Hank. Get out of here and enjoy your long weekend if you're Canadian. If not, enjoy your weekend. Have fun. Anyone remember anyone's Apple Forced Gay U2 album on everyone's iPhones and iPod Touch? I still have it. You can't get rid of it. It's impossible to get rid of. Of course I remember it. It sticks with you, that damn thing. If you engage your iTunes again, it will still be there. It's unreal. Unreal. We hate it. I'm flying out to LA to vote for Pratt. What are they going to do? No, I believe that's something. So I was talking with some people. Indeed, we should all just fly out there. I plan on doing it for the Alberta referendum. I'm just going to go during there and say, hey, can I vote? I want to vote. Why not? I brought a receipt. I brought a bill. Why can't I vote? Why not? Okay, stream freezing for anyone or just me? What the hell? Gross. I didn't see that. Quantum blink phenomenon matrix. Oh yeah, I'm missing all that. Caitlin Collins. Okay, everyone. Please have a and see you all at 1 o'clock with Tom Luongo. And peace out. Have a great weekend. I should be on Monday. I'm only going to take one of these Mondays off, either Memorial Day Monday in the United States or Patriots Day on Monday. I'm not sure which one it'll be. I'll let you know this weekend. It'll depend on if I'm in Vermont this weekend. And my mom had a huge stone hit her car window and smashed the whole thing yesterday. So I have also raccoons trying to move in at my mom's house. I already had raccoons rip apart a part of my roof in Vermont, so I got to go kill some raccoons. I got stuff going on, so I'll let you know what's happening. All right, everyone. Peace, 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 peace.